What's going on, YouTube? We're back with another video today. It's been a busy last couple of weeks, and I have a couple big projects coming to the channel in the near future. But for today's video, we're just going to have to settle for a boring one about AEB-L. And the knife that I have in AEB-L here is a knife from Transparent Knives. I'm not sure if he's even making these anymore. I think this was called the Guppy when he was making them. Was lucky enough to win this one in a giveaway, and it was a steel that I haven't tried yet, so it was pretty cool. It's kind of been sitting around for a little while. Never really got around to testing it because I had other things in mind or other plans, but finally got around to it in the middle of all these other projects that I've been working on. So let's talk about it. AEB-L is basically just carbon and chromium and was really one of the earliest stainless steels on the market. Due to that, it doesn't have any of those fancy vanadium or niobium carbides that are extremely hard to help with edge retention. So nothing like that in the steel to really boost it, but it does have a small amount of extremely fine chromium carbides. With it being a super simple steel, it is capable of up to 64 HRC, and the particular knife that I have here is 62.4, so not quite as hard as it could be, but harder than a lot of the production stuff that you're going to see in AEB-L, and I believe the other analog of it is 13C26. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just going off memory there. I'm pretty sure it's 13C26. And the cool thing about it being able to get that hard is that it's very, very good at supporting thin geometries and edge angles, which is something that this knife has, and that hardness gives it good resistance to chipping and rolling. In theory, those properties should make it a pretty nice knife steel and should give it pretty decent edge retention for being as simple as it is. So I wanted to test that, see kind of what it could do using standard testing procedures. So I went ahead and did that. If you're new here, the standard protocol is we cut cardboard until it will no longer cut computer paper. Once it no longer cuts computer paper, whatever distance of cardboard I've cut is the test result. For sharpening, we sharpen at 18 degrees per side, 200 to 1000 grit plated diamond, and then strop on 16 to 4 micron CBN on leather. This being as small of a knife as it is made it a little difficult to cut cardboard with, but it did work out all right. It's like a 2-finger grip, really. You can really only fit 2 fingers, and I have small hands, so I guess I could sneak 2.5 on there. And with it being super thin stock, as you guys can see there, it's not the most comfortable knife to cut cardboard with, but we made it work. And this particular knife cut 198.67 feet, which is actually very, very comparable to a lot of production M390 and S35VN, which is pretty impressive. Now, it is important to keep in mind that this is one knife that's heat treated by Brian. Obviously, a lot of care was taken with that heat treat, so obviously a lot more attention to detail than what you're going to get from production companies. But even with that in mind, very, very impressive result. Doesn't need all the fancy carbides that some of the other steels do, and it performed very similarly to a lot of production knives. Now, another thing to keep in mind is the geometry. So this knife is extremely thin, like I already said. You're looking at 0.07 inch stock at the thickest point, so that's all the way back down here by the handle, and it's sitting at about 7 thousandths behind the edge, depending where you measure it at. So extremely thin. The crazy thing is that the tip, all the way out here at the very tip, you can barely even see it there on the camera, is actually sitting at 20 thousandths stock thickness, which is about the average for behind the edge thickness on most production knives. So to say that this thing is thin is an understatement. It's just basically ridiculously thin. The reason that I bring that up is that Laren has a great article on AEB-L, and that I'll link below in the description, and I'll put it in the pinned comments as well. And in that article, he mentions that AEB-L, if you use it in thin knives with acute edge geometry, the edge retention can match or even exceed more wear-resistant steels. Now, we didn't go particularly thin on the edge angle here because we ran it at 18 degrees per side to match everything else. But I bet if I drop the edge angle on this to 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there, I bet we pick up a whole lot of extra edge retention because of that. Now, as far as this being thin stock and thin behind the edge thickness, I don't necessarily think that plays as much of a part in the edge retention results because we're cutting cardboard, because knives don't really bind up on that kind of stuff. The cardboard kind of separates and it doesn't really change edge retention at all. But I definitely think that's something to consider depending on what media that you're cutting. This just goes to show that a simple steel like AEB-L here that doesn't have any of the fancy elements to raise hardness or form hard carbides can still perform really, really well if it's hardened to a proper hardness and the microstructure is solid. It can just perform excellent. And with most of the production super steel stuff, and doing this test, it kind of made me think about how average the performance is that we're getting a lot of our super steel knives. I think I'll do a video on that topic here coming up in the next couple months or so, because the production performance that you're getting compared to what you're getting from custom makers like this that focus on their heat treats is honestly pretty average or even below average. So just something to keep in mind. Let me know what you guys think about that down in the comments below. Another thing I wanted to mention is that I just crossed 1,900 subscribers, and I'll probably be at 2,000 before I get my next video out, since things are pretty busy right now around the holiday season. So thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you to all the new subscribers, and especially the old subscribers that have been around for years at this point. So if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Really enjoy making these videos for you guys, and it seems like you guys enjoy the videos as well. That's going to do it for this one, guys. Stay tuned for the projects that will be coming up soon. As always, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.